Hello and good morning. Welcome to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. So before we get started, we're going to go ahead and invite some people onto here. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Saw some people at the beach. Some of you were fishing at the lake. I feel like everybody's going on vacation right now. Now that some stuff is opening up, everybody's like, let's get the hell out of here. Which is actually funny because we've talked about heading out and going somewhere for a little bit. There we go. All right, so we're on a new book for this month, which is by Maxwell, which is The Leader's Greatest Return. So, attracting, developing, and multiplying leaders. So, we're going to go over the introduction on this book, and just by going through the introduction, I really like how John lays out his books compared to the last book that we went over. And even in his introduction, he does have a lot of information in them. I'm not going to lie, in some introductions, I kind of skim them first to see if there's something I actually do want to read. Because sometimes it's just a lot of thank yous to people and just a lot of stuff that I'm like, okay, well, I'm not really getting anything out of that. So I'm guilty of skimming through the introduction and making sure it's something I actually want to read. So I actually did read this one, and I do like it, and there is some good stuff in here. So we're actually going to go over the introduction on this show. So everyone wins when you develop leaders, and the good news is that leaders are not made. The good news is leaders are made, they are not born. So a lot of people like to say, they're like, oh, well, that person's just naturally talented at that. And it's true, some people do have some natural talents, but a lot of times to be able to get somewhere, that's something they had to learn. It's not something that people are just automatically, they are a leader. Those are skills that they have to learn, or they had to go through something in the past to be able to get those skills. So in developing leaders, it's the best return on investment that you can have. So what do you need to know about developing leaders? Number one, developing leaders is going to be difficult, but it's worthwhile. So everything worthwhile is uphill, John likes to say. And if the purpose of life is to ease and comfort, no sensible person would ever take on the demands of leadership. So developing leaders is even harder, and it's like herding cats in some cases because they all want to go do their own thing. But that's why so many people who lead let themselves become comfortable attracting and leading followers instead of seeking out and developing leaders. So followers usually follow, leaders not so much. However, when you invest your time in others, there is a high return. And we see this a lot, and it's a dangerous spot to get in, because when you start building a team and you're not developing those other leaders that can do the skills that you have, like running events, doing presentations, sitting down with people. If you don't have people who can do those things, you have a team that's completely reliant on you. But the problem is, if anything happens to you, everybody's stuck and they're like, oh my God, we don't know what to do. And that's a very dangerous situation to get into, because when you have everybody relying on you. If anything happens, like you get sick or you get caught in a snowstorm or just something happens, you need to be able to have other people on the team that if something were to happen to you, another person can get up and be like, I got this. And it also takes off a lot of stress on you because we're building a team so that way we don't have to do as much work anymore. It takes a lot of work in the beginning, but you need to do the work to develop the people so that way you're not just killing yourself all the time. Eventually you do need to pass the baton over to somebody else. So I don't promise you it will be easy. I do promise you it'll be worthwhile, and that's by Art Williams. Excuse me. Number 2, developing leaders is a job that never comes to an end. So now this one is that Gail Beebe? Baby? Okay. So he was the president of Westmount College, and he studied leadership development extensively. And in shaping the effective leader, he wrote, "Our understanding of leadership does not come to us all at once. It takes time. In our instant-oriented culture, we often want to short-circuit the thinking. So reflecting and acting that mark our progressive development as leaders. So understanding how leaders develop and why they matter requires discernment, wisdom, and insight. So the more I learn, the more I realize that there's a lot more for me to learn. And you have to let go of this microwave mindset that of leadership, and the process isn't going to get done right away. You kind of got to think of it as a crock pot, and that it's just going to take a little while. And that's totally fine, but you got to get, and I think this happens a lot with people who are younger, because with everything being so instantaneous now, and Simon Sinek talks about this on quite a few of his talks, it's not so much that it's entitlement, it's impatience. We're so used to everything being on demand and getting everything right now or getting it tomorrow, we're not used to waiting anymore. So that's something you just got to get used to, but the more you learn, the more you're going to get prepared for different situations. And sometimes you need to go back and relearn some stuff because every once in a while you forget. So number 3, developing leaders is the best way to grow an organization. So weak leaders equal weak organizations, and strong leaders equal strong organizations. So leadership makes the determination. There we go. So how well you lead determines how well you're going to succeed, and that's not just true for the individual, but it's also true for the group. So how well they lead will also determine how well the organization succeeds. And a group of average leaders can't build an above average company. So the potential leaders on your team are either going to be an asset or a liability. This is where it comes to making sure everybody is learning the presentation and learning all those skills. Because if you have everybody reliant on you, you're not going to grow to your full potential because everything is just based on you, and there's only so much hours in the day. How much more stuff could get done on the team if you weren't the only one doing everything? And it's just so much easier. And number 4, developing leaders is the only way to create a leadership culture. So the culture impacts every aspect of your organization and how it functions. So how do you develop a positive leadership culture? Number 1, you want to define it. Forge a consensus regarding our organization's working definition of leadership. Number 2, you want to teach it. Ensure everyone knows our leadership point of view, and leaders have the skills required to succeed. Number 3, practice it. Create opportunities for leaders to create opportunities for leaders and emerging leaders to lead, and stretch assignments to prove and improve leaders. Number 4, measure it. You want to track the progress of our leadership development and efforts, adjusting the strategies and tactics accordingly. And then number 5, model it. You need to walk the walk, and you need to be the example for everybody else on the team. So with that, that's what I have for the chapter, or for the introduction. Jeff, what did you get out of the first part?
A lot of the same stuff. I mean, the introduction, this book was like, the introduction was better than the last book. Everyone wins when you develop leaders. So I pulled a lot of quotes from what he said. I don't promise you it'll be easy. I do promise you it'll be worthwhile. She actually talked about that from Art Williams. Art Williams was actually mentioned in several books. He said, you know, go get his training. It's one of the better ones out there. By the way, Art Williams was in direct sales network marketing, built one of the largest organizations ever in the history of North America, at least 2.5 million people in 11 years. So he did well. Tracy's here. Hello. If you desire to fulfill a bold vision or do something great, you have to let go of that microwave mindset. Brandy talked about that. You really want to go with a crock pot idea. It's going to take a little while. It's going to take some time. If you grow leaders, you grow the organization. And a company cannot grow throughout until its leaders grow within. I thought that was like, I mean, some of the stuff he said, I was like, wow. I'm often amazed at the amount of money and energy organizations spend on activities that do not produce growth. They pour all this money into marketing, yet they don't train their employees in how to treat customers when they show up. And I mean, we're seeing this everywhere. I was talking about this, about the number of businesses that have been going out of business, and they removed the expert and they put in a $7, $8, $10 an hour person that doesn't give a damn about the business or what industry they're in, or, you know, has zero knowledge about what's going on. And now all of a sudden they're filing bankruptcy. Perfect point. GNC. GNC had the ability to be the number one, you know, nutrition company. Amazon has completely wiped them out. Why? Is it because Amazon sells so much better vitamins and minerals and protein shakes and stuff? No, it's not. You know, there's a couple reasons. You know, obviously competition has gotten, Walmart picked it up, Target picked it up, Costco picked it up, Sam's Club picked it up. But there's zero knowledge. They put people in the stores that didn't know the difference between eating something good and eating a napkin. You know, they just were interested in checking you out at the cash register, and that's not going to, you know, hey, can you help me find a vitamin C? They're like, yeah, they're over there on the shelf. I mean, like, zero help. So when you do that, you're just crushing your business. I read a great quote, and this actually isn't from, it's not even from the book. I just saw it last night on Facebook, and it was another conversation I was having with somebody. And it says, there's only one boss, and that's the customer. It says, and he can fire anybody in the company from the chairman down simply by spending his money somewhere else. If you want to make a huge dent, a huge impact in what's going on, choose where your money goes. Because money either promotes people or exposes people to what's going on. That was actually Sam Walton that said that. So, kind of awesome. Very good quote. So the strength of any organization is a direct result of the strength of its leader. A group of average leaders cannot build an above average company. So maybe the reason you're struggling so much is the skill set that you have and the leadership that you have. And people say, whoa, it can't just be that. I can tell you I struggled for a long, long time because these were the books that I skipped because I was like, I don't need that. I don't have anybody to lead. I didn't realize that the books were for me. People often overvalue their dream and undervalue their team. You know, people spend so much time looking at the cars, houses, you know, trips, travel, you know, jewelry, whatever. They forget that it's actually the team of people that will get them there. That's what you really need to be focusing on. Take care of the team, and the team will take care of you. Develop leaders is the only way to create a leadership culture. So the culture impacts every aspect of how organizations function. A negative culture environment creates a terrible environment. And he goes on to talk about the theory of the two problems. And I think this isn't just team-based, this is people in general. Anytime you run into any issue, you have two choices. You can either pour water on stuff or you can pour gasoline. And what you see normally is people pouring gasoline. And what I mean by that is they'll go on Facebook, they'll go on Instagram, and whatever's going wrong, they start putting out pictures of it, they start putting out, videos of it, they start putting out statements of it, and they actually enlarge their own problems. They get more people involved in their problem, which is always a great idea. So that way more and more people are upset. And what I realized is it's a culture of getting attention. People are like, why are things keep escalating? This is like culturally, right? Why do things keep escalating? Why is it, why the violence? Why the anger? Why the this? It's because people have super low self-esteem and they want attention. What does a little kid do when things don't go their way? They fall on the floor and they throw a fit. The problem is nowadays you have to literally set something on fire, literally, or make such a scene that to be able to get attention, because video and everything like that, nobody's going to pay attention to you if you just want to say what's going on. Also, communication skills are horrible. People know how to post anything, but they don't know how to talk to their neighbor. It's just something that culturally is going on that obviously needs to be fixed. One contains water, the other one contains gasoline. I want to train my leaders to use water, not gasoline. Everybody on the team, I was taught this by one of my mentors. He said, your job as a leader is to train and teach people to be able to take care of their own problems. Instead of creating it. I like throwing water on the gasoline. I've done that. Yeah, that's probably not a good idea. There are things you can throw on gasoline, but water and more gasoline is not one of them. As a leader, you want to get the culture. As a leader, you get the culture you create, and the nature of the culture affects what you can and cannot do with your organization. So define it, teach it, practice it, measure it, model it, the steps in this book. So I think this is going to be one of the better books. And I was just guessing that based on, the Leader's Greatest Return. I was like, okay, there's 3 things. I remember that from one of his previous books when he was talking about, what is the greatest reward? What is the greatest return? I knew that he was going to do something along those lines because he's repeated it over and over again. So identifying leaders, attracting leaders, understanding them, motivating, equipping, empowering, position, mentoring, reproducing, and then compounding. So that's kind of the chapters of the book. I'm super excited to get into this one, guys. Hope you guys will also. And for whatever reason, I've went in and messed with this stupid email system a couple times, and I just hate it. I don't like it at all. So we're just not even going to do that. I decided to, last night, I copy and pasted all of my notes into the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, which most of you are already in. If you're not in, that's what we're going to just have everybody do, is go to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. Every day I will take a copy, just like the ones I have here, and I'm going to paste them into the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. So that's where they're going to be. Then you can copy and paste them into a note, or copy and paste them into an email, or whatever you guys want to do. But the email system I'm using, it is like, 1 out of every 5 people that I've talked to is actually getting them. I've tried to switch it. I've tried to do it. It's terrible. So we're not even going to use it. It's set on an autoresponder, and maybe that's the problem. I don't know how to use it. I'm not the smartest when it comes to technology. I can figure most stuff out eventually. But just for aspect of time, easy, go to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group, and I'm going to paste the notes there. So that way you can read through them, copy them, whatever you need to do. So that's what I'm doing right now.
All right. And if you guys would also like to follow us on YouTube, we're going to download each one of these videos to there, as well as share these videos to that Facebook page. So, but you could go follow the YouTube channel. That way you just have them and they're not getting lost in your news feed. So with that, that is what we have for you today. And tomorrow we're going to be going over chapter 1, which is identifying leaders. So with that, we will see you then.